Chips.
Hey everyone, here's Bogdan from Shiv Studios. We are back with another mini-series of tutorials for Blender 3.0, and today we created a digital watch timer and we're really excited about this one, so let's get cracking. Now back to Blender and let's set up the screencast keys. Also, we won't be using the default cube and you can delete it. Then I'll do another collection for lights and camera. I always like to separate those because sometimes you might actually click on them by accident and that would be a hassle. I also delete the camera for now actually. And then I like to tick the select and render view for the toggles, and the first collection will be called main. So now let's get to front view, and then we'll be creating a text. We'll be working a lot with text on this tutorial, so let's pay attention to this one. Let's choose an hour, maybe 19, sure, or 7 p.m. So we can just write 19:59 and 59 seconds, right? Well, no, actually it's a bit harder than that. So let's keep the 19 and then let's move this one a bit to the left. This will be the hour and then duplicate it, take it to the right. And then this one would be the first separator for the hours. Let's move it a bit and then we can duplicate and make the minutes one. 59, and then we can duplicate the first separator so that we can get the one between the minutes and the seconds. Always go on the x-axis, J and X. Then we duplicate the minutes to create the seconds. Okay, this looks a bit too far away, so let's work a bit on the details with the grid that we have already set up by Blender. Let's move this both a bit to the left. Actually, let's leave like 2 grid lines between the elements. This will actually be a problem if you have a font that doesn't have good spacing. So careful at which font you'll be choosing. If you go to the text area after selecting all of them, you'll see that the text is flat. So we need to extrude it, right? Let's rotate it on the x-axis. Then move it a bit. All right. Now we could actually just turn them all to mesh and extrude, but we don't have to. We can go to the geometry tab and then extrude it to, let's say, about 0.2. Okay. And maybe it's a bit too much. Let's go 0.1. Maybe even lower. Let's go for 0.05. Yeah, that looks good. So we need to do it for each of them. You can just copy the value and then paste it for the other ones by hovering and then Control C, Control V. And the seconds. And now we have an extruded text without making it into a mesh. Okay, that looks good. So back to front view. And we can actually bevel it if you'd like to, but take care not to exaggerate with it, because you could get really weird shapes and the shading might go crazy. So I won't be using it because I have a custom font that I like to choose. So you go to the font tab, choose for the regular one, open the font that you'd like to use, and actually got one research already. I used the advanced.digital and it looks like this. It's actually looking like the alarm clocks that you see sometimes in the movies. I'll be using this one for the tutorial, and I'll check this one for the fake user so that you don't lose it if you close the document. And we have to do it for the separators and for the minutes and the seconds. Okay, now we're done with this. We could actually move them closer if we like that, because then the clock would be really wide and we don't want that. We want it to look as much as possible as a normal clock, a digital one. And then we can move it around the grid. You don't have to be perfect by centimeter. But I'm just obsessed with details, so yeah, here I'm moving stuff around. Okay, that looks decent. So these are actually small tubes that form shapes, and from the front view you can see them clearly. While if you go to perspective, they will look really weird, like there are some neon. And then we create a container. This will be the watch base that we'll be using. Let's get it wider and then smaller. We need to make a simple case. We won't be going for something really extra. So it will be a rectangle. Now let's make it slimmer. And I want to leave some space for the text inside to breathe, but you can take it as much to the back further as you'd like. Now, if you go into edit mode, select faces and you select the front one. Let's first apply the scale actually. Then you select the front face, press I to inset it, and this looks good. Let's keep it that way. And then we want to extrude it inside. So this will be our display and we'll be making some neon lights. So I want to extrude it just enough. Okay. This will be a glass display. So if we go into X-ray mode, we can select the text and then be sure that the scale is applied for each of them. Now, what I would like is to create a first material for the case. I actually want to set up the glass one so we can see it from render view or preview. We can see the text inside. So this one would be like the plastic or the metal that's around the clock case. You can put it any color as you want, but I'll go for dark gray. I'll take the roughness a bit down and then make it metallic. Plastic is too cheap for us, so we'll go for metal. Then if we go inside and we select just this face, we can actually set up a vertex group that we can call glass, and you need to press assign. So the vertices that were selected are now into a vertex group that we can select, and we can add another material to it besides the clock case one. So if I press Control I, it will be an invert selection, and then we can assign the clock case, and then we create a new material. This one will be called, well, glass. And we have to go back to transmission, and let's switch it up to cycles. Okay, I want the GPU compute, And the samples for the viewport, let's take them down to like 64. Also, I want the denoise. And for the render, we'll see later. Okay, so let's go back to the material and we take transmission up to 1. And the roughness, let's leave it like that as it is for now. This will be looking like a frosted glass for now. So if you go to render mode, you can see much, right? Because we have no light. Let's take the light and move it a bit down so we can take a look. Oh, it's behind the clock, right? Let's take it to the front and now we have some light. So now we can actually see the text. And the fact that we have an effect of frosted glass might actually help us. You can actually make glass look more like plastic by using this effect. And if you take it down to 0, it's normal, and if you take it to 1, it's like really bad see-through plastic. You can also play around with transmission roughness, but I think I'll stick to normal glass for now. So this is the main layout. It's already looking pretty good. Okay, let's get back to the seconds, and we like to create a material so that it looks like neon or like shining. So this one will be called digits, and I'll be going for an emission shader. We don't need all the other options from the principled BSDF. So let's choose a color. I'll go for an orangey one. This looks good, and maybe take it up to 5. Yes, that's the effect that we want. And then we add it to each part of our text. We can just select it from here. Let's close the case a bit so that we can select them better and set up the materials, not the light. Let's make that unselectable. Okay, and we go back to material, digits, and we can actually copy the material by linking them. Okay, now all of them have the same material as the first one. So we have right now the setup for the watch, but we still have some details that we can work around. Actually, I'd like the inside of the watch to be a bit more illuminated. If we play around with the case, we can do that. But what I'll actually want to do is to create a light inside the case so that we highlight more the digits, since this is the subject of our video. So I want to go inside the case and then copy a part of it and make it shine as the digits are. It will look more like a rim light. So let's take the light up a bit. And then if we select the case and we go to the perspective mode and let's select this part, this one, not the back. Okay, basically the sides are selected right now, and we can duplicate it and then we make it smaller. Let's separate them by selection, Control P. And right now, let's make it smaller and let's go to wireframe mode. And then we'll see that this one will be calling inside rim. And let's make it just past, just between the margins. Okay, that looks good. And we want to take off the materials for this one, and we want to create another one. We'll call this one inside rim with a big R. Okay. And then we want again the emission shader, and we go maybe with a slightly more yellowish color and lesser strength than the digits. And then if we go back to render mode, it will look like this. So now we have some lights on the side and, well, on the inside of the digital clock. And if we want, we can put the same color as in the digits and it will blend in a bit better. Let's take it down to 2 maybe, or 5 is too much. Let's leave it to 3 for now. So this is how the inside of the digital clock looks. Looks pretty nice. Okay, so this is the first part of the tutorial series. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll be back with the second part tomorrow. So until next time, catch ya!